The Minolta SRT 100, introduced in 1971. In this edition of Jules Voto's Photo Focus, I'm going to go over all the features, controls, and how to use this 35mm single lens reflex camera. The SRT 100 is very similar to the Minolta SRT 101, which was introduced about 5 years earlier. But before I begin, if you enjoy videos like this on how to use these old cameras and reviews of manual focus lenses, please subscribe to my channel. Also, I'm always looking for suggestions for future videos, and if you have any suggestions, please leave your ideas in the comments below. Okay, so let's get started, and we're going to start, as I always do, with the top right of the camera as you hold the camera. And here we have our shutter speed dial. Speeds go from a 500th of a second, so the SRT 101 went up to 1,000th of a second. And we're just going to stop right here at a 60th. That is our flash sync speed with electronic flash. So if you're using electronic flash, you should not use a shutter speed faster than 1/60th. If you do, part of the image will be cut off. And shutter speeds go down to 1 second, plus there's B. B stands for bulb, and when we press the shutter release and hold it, the shutter will remain open as long as we keep pressure on the shutter release. It's highly recommended that you use a cable release for this, a locking cable release when using long exposures, and also, of course, have the camera on some type of support, preferably a tripod. The shutter speed dial does not turn 360 degrees, so if you were on B and you want to go to a 500th of a second, you just have to go back to reach 500. Okay, around the shutter speed dial is a ring which you lift up to set your ISO. Now it says ASA on this camera because back in those days we referred to it as ASA. The numbers mean the same thing, and you could set it from an ASA of 10 all the way up to 3200. All right, we're just going to leave it set to 400. The meter does not work on this camera. These cameras took mercury batteries. This one took a 1.35 volt mercury battery. There are substitute batteries, but when I buy these cameras, and I only paid like $22 for this with the lens, when I buy these cameras, I'm not interested in using the meter. I'm more or less buying them for collecting, for talking about them on YouTube, for testing the lenses, and just for displaying with my collection of vintage cameras. Okay, so to the right of the shutter speed dial, we have our advance lever, and you can advance the film, cock the shutter, and also it advances the frame counter. And it's a stroke of 150 degrees. There's a 20-degree standoff, as you can see. And you could also advance the film and cock the shutter in several smaller strokes. The shutter release is right here. It is threaded for a standard cable release. The only other thing on the top right of the camera is right here we have a film plane indication that is used for macro photography. And of course the serial number for the camera is on top. Let's come around to the front of the camera now. And the only thing here is our depth of field preview. Now on the SRT 101, you would have a self-timer here and also a mirror lockup. This camera does away with that in order to keep the price down. To use the depth of field preview on the SRT series, shutter must be cocked. Okay, and then you press in. Well, I have it set wide open. Hang on. Here we go. All right, I hope you could see that. Press it in. The lens stops down so you could observe depth of field on the screen, and it stays stopped down. Press it again, and the lens opens up. Let's go over to the other side of the camera now, the left side, and the only thing we see here are the two sync terminals. The bottom one, marked X in red, is for electronic flash. The top one's for bulbs. It's very important that if using electronic flash, you have it plugged into the bottom terminal. If you plug it into the top terminal, your flash will not sync with the camera. Right here, we have a lens release. Okay, it's a bayonet mount. We just push it down and turn the lens to the right to remove. To mount a lens, we have a red dot on the lens. We have a red dot on the top, on the front of the prism. We just match the red dots. Turn the turn the lens to the right. Okay. One other thing on the front of the camera, you will notice below the word Minolta, we see CLC. What that stands for is contrast light compensator, and it uses two CDS cells to measure the overall screen, but it was really a form of early matrix metering. It was supposed to have been very accurate. Most cameras back then had either an averaging meter, a center weighted meter, or a spot meter. So this was something a little different. All right, we have a cold shoe on top, permanently attached. To the left of that, we have our rewind knob and crank. I'm just going to unfold it, and you will notice a little arrow here. That is the direction that you turn to rewind your film. Okay, let's go to the bottom of the camera now. Oh, one other thing on the back, you will notice a dial here. It says ASA and DIN. DIN was the German version of ASA. So what this did, this just shows you, for example, let's just set this here to 400. You will notice opposite 400, we have 27 DIN. That was the German version of ASA. Really, just ignore that. Okay, we come to the bottom of the camera now. We have a meter on switch, battery check. So we could turn this, currently it's off. We could turn it to BC to check the battery. We could turn it to on to turn the meter on. We have a tripod socket, a standard tripod socket. We have the battery compartment. As I said, these batteries are no longer available. The PX13 was one of them. It's 1.35 volt mercury. There are substitute batteries. I have not even tried a battery in this camera. I'm really not interested in using the meter. I will explain how it works, however. Here is our button for rewind. We press that in before we start to rewind film. To open the back of the camera, we just pull up on the rewind knob. Now, before I do that, I just want to explain something here that's very important. Do not open the back of your camera unless you are sure there's no film inside. You know, sometimes you'll start a roll, you'll put the camera away, and then come back to it a few days later, and you forget that you had a roll of film in the camera. So in order to make sure you do not expose that film, just unfold your rewind crank and just turn it in the clockwise direction. If there is no resistance, and it's turning very freely here, if there's no resistance, that means there's no film in the camera. So once we determine there's no film in the camera, we just pull up on the rewind knob, the back slips open. Now it's very simple. Cloth focal plane shutter. We have a multi-slotted take-up spool here, and it's very easy to load the Minolta. So in order to do that, we're going to just make sure that rewind knob is pushed all the way up. Let's just pull it up a little bit more. Drop the cartridge in, push the rewind knob back down, and then we're just going to slide this in to this gray plastic piece here. Okay, and I'm just using my thumb here to make sure that the sprocket holes engage in the sprocket gear in the camera. And then we're going to advance film a little bit. Let's release the shutter. And you see how that's turning? Okay, and we notice on top, that it has been engaged. So we're going to close the back of the camera, and I'm going to unfold the rewind crank to illustrate something here. All right, so I'm just going to make a couple blanks. Look at the rewind crank as I advance the film. See how it's turning? It's our second blank. What that means, when that is turning, the film has been loaded properly, because what's happening is the film, as you advance, the film is coming out of the cassette and going over to the take-up spool. If it was not turning as you advance, and you can see it here as it turns, if it was not turning, that meant that the film was not properly put into the take-up spool. Just open the back and reload. Okay. Now, to use the meter on this camera, I showed you the switch on the bottom. You turn it on. It's a full aperture metering system, which means the camera meters at the maximum aperture of the lens, which keeps the view through the viewfinder bright as you're metering. With a stop-down metering system on many other cameras back in the day, the viewfinder would darken as you metered. But this camera, like the Nikon's, Nichromat FTN of the same era and others, it meters at full aperture. So all you need to do is turning either your shutter speed dial or your aperture ring to center the needle that you see here into that circle. And it's a very simple viewfinder, has a central microprism spot for focusing. You can focus anywhere on the screen, but it's easier usually to focus using that center spot, and just the meter needle. There's no shutter speeds in the viewfinder like you have with the SRT 101. Otherwise, these cameras are identical, so it's just the top shutter speed, which on this camera is only a 500th of a second. There is no self-timer, there's no mirror lockup, and you don't have shutter speeds visible in the finder. The bodies look identical. From the back, you can't tell the difference. From the bottom, you can't tell the difference. From the top, the only reason you could tell the difference is because of that top shutter speed on the SRT 101. And from the front, of course, here it says SRT 101, and you have your self-timer and mirror lockup. So it's a very nice camera. If you don't need those features, you can save some money buying this. Like I said, I paid just a little over $20 for this. You have two mounts for your strap here, one on the left and one on the right. So Minolta's made some really nice cameras, and this is one of them, and it was just a less expensive version of the SRT 101. So if you have any comments or questions on this video, please leave them in the comments below. I always try to respond to all questions and comments. And as I said earlier, if you have any suggestions for future videos, please let me know that in the comments below. I'm always trying to come up with some interesting videos that you may enjoy. I usually publish a new video every Monday morning and Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So I will talk to you then.